Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today I want to answer a question that I have actually received many times and I just haven't answered it yet. And that is, what are the Linux Bible applications? And so today we're going to talk about those. And there's primarily two of those. There is Bibletime and there is Xiphos. There are going to be a few other ones here and there, but those are going to be your two big primary ones. Now, why do I always get asked this? Well, I am a Christian, in addition to doing a lot of the technology type stuff, and I actually do quite a lot of extensive work in the Christian field. I have an entire website dedicated to that at ourwalkinchrist.com, where I do Bible studies, some just Christian perspective stuff is the Daily Walk series, and then I do a topical Bible study and an exegetical Bible study each week. We also do, I have some newsletters. If you want to sign up on newsletters over there, we do stream podcasts on several places. And there's actually several different Christian books that I've written here as well. So you can find out more information about this over at ourwalkinchrist.com. But what we want to talk about today is I want to give you the perspectives on the different Bible applications that there is in existence. So most of your Bible apps are going to use the Sword server system. So this is itself, it's almost literally like a web server, only this is just a Bible module server. So all of the applications that utilize this system all feed into the same place. Now, when you use a Flatpak, it may or may not be using the basic Sword module locations. You need to check on that. You may need to enable some of that. So you're going to want to be aware of what your sources are. But what I want to do first is let's go ahead and have a look at the Sword module layout. And then what we're going to do is we will go ahead and have a look at the applications themselves. So jumping over onto the desktop view, when you have any of these guys set up, of course, here's our settings for Xiphos. There might be a settings up here for Bibletime somewhere. There's one for Bibletime. But really where all these are going to be at is .sword is going to show up. So inside of .sword, we see a couple of folders. So we have mod D and we have modules. So you can see inside of all the mod Ds, these pretty much just tell you where the files happen to be at. So I know what some of these are just by reading them, and some of them I'm not exactly sure. So ESV, for example, this is the English Standard Version, and this is basically, it's a configuration file telling us where the actual module is. So these are going to be over in the modules, and then it might be in the text, it might be in the commentaries, general books. Most of your Bibles are going to be under texts. Obviously, your commentaries are under commentaries. Gen books is generally reserved for, there are a lot of books in the Sword system, and then Lex dictionary, lexicons and dictionaries and stuff. So if I go into here, and then I can see here's my English Standard Version, King James, the Septuagint, NASB, Net Free, TNT, TR, and the Latin Vulgate. So inside of this, one of the reasons I have not used the apps a lot in the past, well, there's two reasons. Number one is I generally prefer to and get more out of study if I open up paper Bibles, I open up paper commentaries, and I use paper and pen. Now, there are a lot of very good reasons to use these applications. One thing is, as I'm doing my Christian videos, I do use these tools to extract Bible verses. Now, for a long time, NASB was not available as a Sword module. And this kind of prevented me from using these. And then I got to the point where I was looking into reading the documentation. What would it require to actually make the Sword module, which is actually possible. But eventually, by the time I went back and started looking into this again, it turned out that ESV pulled support, but NASB added support. Now, since I already had the ESV translation, as long as I keep a backup of it, I can keep using it forever. I just need to drop the file back into this folder on any new install, and now I have that translation. The NASB, likewise, now that they've released it, I have it, it's in my backups, and I will not lose it. This now enables me to use the sword system here, but also there is an iPad app. There's actually a couple of them that use the sword modules. And the one I'm using, I believe, is called Pocket Sword on Apple devices. And the one you're using for Android, the best one you want to use is And Bible. And Bible is excellent because it functions almost exactly like the two tools we are going to look at here today. So with the NASB, now I actually can use this to extract the verses that I'm putting on the screen, and that actually makes me really happy. Now, with these in here, if I make any changes to these texts, every application that pulls from this .sword directory, which is going to be anything utilizing the sword infrastructure, is actually going to be changed. So if you download Bibles on one of these software applications, it will install them for both of the software applications. Now, there are two of these. The first one we're going to have a look at is Xiphos. This one here, it may be the more popular one. I'm not completely sure. There are some advantages and some disadvantages with using this one. Originally, I was not actually able to get these tabs displaying different verses. I seem to be able to fix that now. So maybe I might go back and attempt to use this one soon. However, I've actually found that I do like Bibletime a little bit better. So let's go ahead and cover what each of these guys do, how you use them in function. I'm going to talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of both of these applications. All right, so first and foremost, you can come on down here, and up here in our corner, we have our modules, which is going to allow us to open texts. We have bookmarks where we can save some bookmarks, verse lists, which I believe are tied to bookmarks. The verse lists will kind of show with whatever verse we're in, it's going to show us other related and linked verses. The thing about Xiphos is, although it looks intriguing in that if I change a verse, I should in theory be able to jump to different locations, but it doesn't actually seem to do what you would anticipate it to do. So I would like to say, okay, we're going to look at an individual verse and I want to see what a Greek word is. Well, there's really no good way to figure out what this word is. I can go in, and if I have the options in the module, I could turn on the strong concordance numbers, but this module doesn't have that option. This is the ESV. So if I were to go though to something like the King James, and you'll see it's a little bit clunky sometimes working with it. So there's parallel. So here's my English. So if I go King James, now I can turn on Strong's numbers, which makes it almost impossible to read, but at least I can actually click over here. I can highlight over a strong number here, and what the strong number then is going to do is it's going to give me information down in this lower box about this particular word. The challenge is, though, is that it does not seem to do anything but the strong numbers, which does make it a little bit harder to read. Now, if I click on one of these strong numbers, it will actually update our text down here. So if you're using a text with the strong numbers, this is actually a very beneficial thing. However, not everything has those, and then you need to turn on the clunky strong numbers in order to pull that functionality out. If I want to look at NASB, for example, we do have strong numbers in there, so I can actually go back with NASB. And you can see, though, that this one's not working quite as well. It's not pulling in. I can see the numbers. I could probably come down here and manually search for the numbers, but it's not actually functioning as I would like it to. So there we are. I was just grabbed from wisdom. So you can see here, this is the Greek word for wisdom over here, Sophia. All right, so you can see I can manually do things, but the King James works. NASB, not so much. So that's kind of where I have some problems and some challenges with these. Bookmarks, we can create lists of bookmarks, but I found that you can see, like this one I think just doesn't have any other verses. But if I click on a verse that does have other cross-references, like Ephesians, it instantly jumps down to the verse list, which kind of messes up my bookmark list. So it's doing a lot of little things that are a little bit on the I'll just kind of say annoying side. But at the same time, it does allow you a lot of functions to search for and to hunt for the various things that you need. Now, the other thing that we do have in this that Bibletime does not have is the parallel view. You set this up by going into your preferences, and when you pull up your preferences, oh, I think I missed it, or it's just not loading. I don't know why it's not loading. But when you pull up your preferences, let's see if it was open. I'm not sure. Oh, no, maybe not. I don't know. When you pull up your preferences, it was working for me before I started running the video, just like taking your car to the mechanic, right? You can actually set what will show up down here. And in this case here, I have it set to the ESV, the English Standard Version, the NASB, King James Version, and the Calvin's commentaries. So I can look at an individual verse in a few different translations, and then I can look at the commentary as related to it. I have no idea why that's not working. Okay, that worked. Let's try preferences again. I don't know why preferences is not showing up. Let's close it and reopen it and see if I can get preferences to show up again. There's preferences. I don't know where it was vanishing to, but there it is now. All right, so the special will kind of tell you where things are running. So this is what's controlling the strong numbers, for example. The parallel, this is where you can see what our parallel verses, ESV, NASB, King James, and Calvin's commentaries. It looks like I probably can't move those around, but I'm guessing if I were to delete something and re-add it, it will add everything back to the bottom. So if I wanted to resort things, it looks like I have to go through, delete everything, and just re-add them in the order that I want them to see. We can change our fonts and our colors. There's a little bit of syncing options, which I've not actually examined what all the syncing options do. And then you can show startup screens. You can show daily devotionals at startup or other various things like this. You can actually go through and highlight something, and if you highlight something, you can annotate a verse. So this is going to allow you to make some comments or some adjustments. So you can actually take Bible study notes inside of this application. So that is most of Xiphos. Let's talk about managing your modules. Head on into your module manager here, and what you can do is hitting the add remove. You have the option to see a variety of different options here. So here we have crosswire as an option. Let's see. So if I go down here, I got to see where we're at. Okay, modules. So install and update. So this is sources. So our sources is where is it pulling from. If you have a separate FTP source, you can go ahead and do that. As far as adding new biblical texts, you can search down here by going down and finding where they're at. So you can see here ESV. Oh, maybe they added ESV back in. Huh. There was some issue over copyright. Maybe they've actually added ESV back in, or maybe it's just showing up because I have manually installed it. It's King James. Here's my net free. So you can go through and just select the variety of translations that you'd like to install. And you can see that they have a variety of different languages and such. All right. So there is how you can, there should have been more options, although maybe Xiphos just gives us this single option. And Bibletime will give us more options. So let's go ahead and have a look at Bibletime next, which I actually like Bibletime a whole lot more. And you'll see pretty quickly why. All right, so you can set your tools to set up by default. All right, that's cool. Now, if I did want to have multiple books, like I like the idea of going over and saying, hey, we have a new we have a new a word there. Let's see what it is. Well, this one actually works really well. So I'm on NASB. I do not have to turn on Strong's. And if I highlight over a word, you'll kind of see over here that we get the Greek over here. So this one's automatically updating. So I can actually browse through here really quick and see any of the Greek notes side by side, which is actually a really cool option. Now, I can also come up here to the top. So if I want to do, basically everything functions in the parallel type view. So if I come down here to commentaries, and let's grab Calvin's commentaries. By the way, Calvin's commentaries is not in any of the sources I had here. If you can find the Russian source actually for scriptures, the Calvin's commentaries are in there. And quick tip, the And Bible Android application, which you can download on F-Droid, actually connects to that one. So I basically grabbed the Calvin's commentaries on the Android phone and just ported it over here. So now with this, we can select what our individual verse is going to be. So let's go down to Philemon, and let's go with Philemon. Oh, well, I moved up to Hebrews. All right, so here's Philemon, and it looks like that's a bad example because it appears as though Calvin does not have commentaries on Philemon. Let's go to Romans. Calvin's got lots of commentaries on Romans. All right, so here we're looking at Romans 1:1. So over here in Romans 1:1, what we can actually see here is that we have the verse and then we have the full commentary right over here. So I can actually see interlinear. I can actually put a variety of different texts together. So if I head back over here, I can actually replace it. So if I want to do side by side, maybe NASB on one side, King James Version on the other to compare them side by side, I can do that. So we have a full interlinear option. And then you actually have other options for, you can do more split screen things and stuff like that. I actually have my Christian user account really decked out because that's really the place where I do things. But I can actually come over here and still access some of the Strong's numbers. We can kind of see what everything is. We can also add, let's see, we have books, Bibles, commentaries, books, lexicons, maps, images. That's our bookshelf. Here's our book markers. We can also open up multiple instances of the Bible. So if I pull in multiple instances here, I can go ahead and do that. All right, so you can set up your configuration options. You can go into your settings, configure Bibletime. So this is where you can set up your various displays. We have a couple different CSS type files. So if I apply things, you can kind of see what these might look like. So some of these might be a little bit easier to read. Some might be a little bit harder to read depending on what you're trying to do there. So as far as the font size, this one's a better font size, but you can actually change the font sizes around as well. Just head on down to font size. The default font is a little bit small for me, so I do like to hit the custom font size there. The font itself is just fine, but what I'd like to do is just be able to change it around a little bit just so it's a little bit easier to read. And I do this mostly make it a little bit bigger. Not that I'm actually the guy that carries a 6-point font translation to church. But what I actually do is I bump the size up because I use this for my Bible studies. So I'm reading on the Bible studies as we're reading. And as I'm reading all the text, I want it to be a little bit bigger so it's easier to read so I don't stumble through anything as much. But you can customize your fonts over there. There's some shortcuts you can customize. Languages. Here's our desk. So what our desk kind of gives us is our defaults. So I want to choose my standard Bible. So if there's nothing else there and I just open up a new window, it's going to automatically open up the NASB. My default commentary for anything calling a commentary is going to be Calvin's. I do have Spurgeon's, Treasury of David, Luther's commentaries, some Augustine's homilies, but I prefer the Calvin's commentaries. For lexicons, I have the Net Bible Maps. I don't have any of the daily devotionals downloaded. I don't bother with any of those. And then we have, I think I might have somewhere else. Yeah, this is where I had. So we have Hebrew Strongs and we have Greek Strongs. So there's the Strong's Real Greek and the Strong's Greek. The difference is that the Strong's Greek is actually going to give us. I don't think it's going to adjust over there. The Strong's Greek is going to give us everything in English. And since I like to study and understand more about the Greek, actually, I'm just in Genesis. That's why. Let's go to the New Testament. Maybe that'll actually work. All right, so there we are. So if we default back, I think this might update this on the fly. I can't remember. So there you go. You can see here that now in our Greek lexicon, it's only giving us the English spellings of the words. That's why I prefer to use the Real Greek, which gives us both the English and the actual Greek. So we have the actual Greek spelling with the English translation and then the lexiconal dictionaries and things. So that's actually our basic default settings. Here's our text filters. What are you going to show? What are you going to hide? The one thing I really, really wish I could do with this that I cannot do, at least not in this version, is I would rather if these footnotes were not here. So mostly because when I'm doing my Bible studies and I'm pulling up several windows of these, every window pulls these up. And I find them distracting to read, so I actually have to go through the window and turn off footnotes on everything, and I've not found a master setting or control to turn those off. So there is how we're managing that. Let's go ahead and talk about how to get your books on here. So let's go in, Bookshelf Manager. So this is where we're going to make any adjustments to anything here. So this is installing and updating. And what we're going to do is, this is the install folder. So make sure that this is not changing or whatever else. Then you can, up here is where you can choose. This is where Xiphos really only gives us the Crosswire. This one gives us Bible.org, Crosswire, a couple different Crosswire beta builds. We have a couple languages. International Bible Translation is if you're looking for a specific international language. IBT probably has it, although it doesn't have as much on the English. The Lockman is what you need for the NASB. So they're distributing their own. We have Xiphos and we have ebible.org. So as you pull these up, you'll kind of see that these will change the options available. So the Xiphos one, that's the same one we saw on Xiphos. These are the options that it gives you. So you can actually pull in the Xiphos, but this also has a variety of other ones as well. So here's eBible. These are, I'm guessing these are languages maybe. Probably, because I can't read any of that. Let's see if we can see like in English. So there's an English. So then here's an American Standard, Bible and Basic English. So you can see there's just a variety of these. These are all free to download. There's a Geneva Bible. That's actually one I usually download. If you're a person that needs the Apocrypha, maybe you're studying it, or maybe it's part of your particular faith, then you can download the one with the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha are going to be a little bit more uncommon, mostly because this is really a group put together mostly by Protestant groups. There is a World English Catholic Bible in there as well for those of that viewpoint. There's Wycliffe portions. So you can kind of see that we have a variety of different options to choose from. And this is why I like Bibletime the most. Overall, it's the easiest to use, easiest to configure. I've not had any problems with it. I can easily find my Greek. So this is actually the one. I did not even bother installing Xiphos on my Christian writing computer. I just went ahead and installed Bibletime because it has everything that I need. All right, so there is 2 Bible applications for Linux. Both of these guys, they work pretty much the same. I find overall Bibletime has a little bit better user interface, better setup. It's easier to work with. not as frustrating at times. You can kind of get frustrated when things don't work as well as you would think they would in Xiphos. But in Bibletime, things seem to come together a little bit better. So if you're looking for just one of them, I would definitely check that one out the most. As far as adding new Bibles translations, you want to familiarize yourself with the sword system because it's going to allow you to make backups of all of your Bibles. So if you need to, you can keep backup copies of them. Since this and my phone at the Ann Bible uses different sources, I look in all of the sources available, figure out what I want, and then I just kind of merge everything into one download folder. As soon as I get a new one of these installed on a computer, I just drop that whole downloads folder in there, and then I have all the Bibles, all the things that I wanted to have. So that is the two Bible software programs that everyone always asks about. And I've actually started to use them more frequently. Not only are they easier than running up to the library when I usually do my studies downstairs, and I usually would have to run up to the library if I need a lexicon or something. Usually if the computer is nearby for the writing computer, then I actually have some of these tools available to me. But still, I do like paper and pen, but these are indeed excellent open source options for Bible study tools. And I've become very acquainted with how they work and how they function. And honestly, a lot of it is I became familiar with them when they put the NASB in there because I think that that's one of the most superior translations we have. So that is my thought. Again, if you want to have a look at my Christian stuff, you can head on over to the Christian website at ourwalkingchrist.com. You can sign up for podcasts. Of course, I have down there at the bottom if you want to follow any of those channels down there. There's social media links in the bottom of that. Including, of course, the YouTube channel. So you can head on over there, and the schedule over there, we do a podcast/video on Tuesday. We do a topical Bible study on Wednesday. Right now, we are just wrapping up the parables. And then we do a exegetical study, book for book. We just wrapped up 1 Peter, and we're starting in on 2nd next week. So you can head on over to that website for more details. So thanks for coming along, guys, and hope that answers the questions you guys had about Bible apps, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.